when you're making changes to your health, to how you eat, to your fitness, keep it simple. Like, now is not the time to be the culinary expert. Like, add in things slowly, do what makes sense, and it'll progress.
Well, I am beyond excited today. Today, our guest is an amazing woman. I'm going to start with that. This woman is rocking it at nearly 60 years old, and she is out there helping women who are over the age of 50, who at one point in their life, they had it all. They were fit, they were energetic, they had vitality, great jobs, and they probably still have great jobs, but they kind of got caught up in life. And so the women that she works with in her business are those who want to get it back. They want to have that vitality. They want to have that health. They want to get their sexy on. And with that, I want to say, first of all, hello to my co-host, V-Lynn Hopkins. How are you, V-Lynn?
I'm great, Kathleen. Thank you. It's
And,
good to be here
I'm doing pretty good
with our
today.
friend Nancy. I'm so
Oh, this is so
excited about
awesome.
this.
This is so awesome. So Nancy Leeds Gribble, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I was thinking I should have worn my black shirt.
You're good. We needed a little bit of contrast. You're good.
You didn't get the memo, but yeah, you actually have had your business for quite a while. You've been vegan for quite a while. Let's start with that, because the whole idea with this show, the Veganpreneur Revolution, is to showcase vegan business owners, vegan entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants. And so, how did you get started on your vegan journey?
Yeah, so my vegan personal journey or my vegan business journey?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes.
So I will nutshell it. I will try to nutshell it. So not vegan growing up, but in my 20s, I went vegetarian, 100% for the animals. Health, nutrition, anything like that was never in my equation. My goal, my only thing I focused on was being skinny. I grew up in a period where being skinny, your weight was your worth. Who cared about nutrients? You needed to just eat less, move, and be skinny. And so even when I went vegetarian, that was my goal. And then stayed, kind of was a junk food vegetarian for a while. Then I'll just go backwards. About 18 years ago now, I was at an HSUS conference, Humane Society of the United States conference, and they had on speakers. And it was the first time I ever heard, really connected what was happening with the dairy cows. And so I said, oh my gosh, that's really the only thing that's keeping me from being vegan, is I still ate cheese. So I went right then and there. I'm like, I will not be a part of that. So I immediately stopped cheese. So now I'm vegan, but I'm still a junk food vegan. And just meaning nutrition wasn't in my wheelhouse. It was, listen, if I just ate a Cliff Bar or whatever and had a Red Bull, I'm still vegan. I'm still doing good for the animals. There you have it. My health was not in the equation. In 2008, I was a realtor at the time too, I should say. I was a very successful realtor in Tampa, Florida. I was married and I had a young son, and I married a little bit later in life too. And in 2008, anyone who remembers and was part of that year will recall the market crash. So instantly overnight, my income went from here to nothing. I had a lot of real estate investments that I lost instantly. But the worst thing that happened that year was my husband. He was only 50, was diagnosed with stage 4 brain cancer, which is glioblastoma. And they gave him about 6 to 9 months to live. And they were correct. That is, he passed away in November of 2009, when I found myself a single mom, completely broke and bankrupt. I was in a fog for a very long time. Fast forward a few years later, 4 years, I met somebody, fell in love, all the things. We got engaged, and I thought life was on the upswing. And lo and behold, he had back pain. And then they said they needed to do surgery. we found out that he had end-stage pancreatic cancer. And I thought the 9-month time frame was really short. He had 2 weeks and he passed away 2 to 3 weeks later. And I was like, what? First thing I said is I cannot be in that same fog I was in, but what's happening here? Like, I had to think about this. These are two men. One was 50, one was 60, very young. On the outside, right? On the outside, they looked fit. They ate the standard American diet. They did all the right things. And yet we had no idea what was going on the inside. And right then and there, I'm like, God has entrusted me to be this single mom, and I got to get it together. Like, my son cannot lose another person, and I am not healthy. And when James, my husband, had been diagnosed, of course, we dove into all the things that could kind of save him, and lots of information about the benefits of plant-based. But my head wasn't in the space that I could absorb it. Now I needed to absorb it. And I'm like, that's the first thing I have to do. I have to get really healthy. Still vegan, but now what does this mean, being healthy? So I enrolled at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, and I'm just going to go mind blown, right? Like, I was like, oh my gosh, the power of food is amazing. And that started my journey. I ended up leaving my real estate career, moving, really revamping my entire life, just about the age of around 50. And then I continued to get educated and learning more and more. And then I'm like, I have to share this information with the world, with all the women, because we have to do this for ourselves. We have to get healthy. And there is, like, I mean, we can have all the dreams in the world, but if we don't have our health, like, none of them are going to matter. So that's how it started for me. So I went vegetarian, vegan, and then plant-based vegan.
That is an incredible story. And, you know, it's a nice cliche, when we have our health, we have everything, but it's true.
It's true.
It's like, often these cliches, they have real meaning behind them. And when you went to the Institute and you went through that whole process, what was the biggest aha that you had in what you learned? Because we hear a lot about plant-based eating. And I know for me, I am a junk food junkie, and sometimes I struggle with that as a vegan. And then as I'm eating that piece of garbage, I'm thinking, okay, I can't do this to myself. So tell me what you learned, and then how do you address that whole issue with your clients who they give into that temptation of the junk food?
Yeah, I think what I really learned was the power of food, that food really has the ability to heal, support, and build our health. And then I'm going to say, as my education continued, to change our body composition, right? Like, it's so powerful. On the flip side, the processed foods and those things, they have the ability, they're the slowest form of disease. They really are. And we're putting chemicals into our body, and our body has no idea what to do with them. And a lot of women, especially in my age range, and, they're going through menopause. I'm past it now, but they're in it. And they're like, it's my hormones. And I'm like, you might be really disrupting your hormones with all those preservatives and those chemicals that you're putting into your body. So let's start there. Let's start with getting more whole foods into your body, before you go running out and thinking that you have to do, hormone replacement therapy, or it's never going to happen for you, or something like that.
So, and I know V-Lynn's got a boatload of questions, because, we often have talked about you and how amazing you are. Your amount of knowledge is incredible. And your change, I remember seeing your picture of your before and after, and it was a 5-pound difference, but to look at it, it looks like about 30 pounds. And so I'm going to turn it over to V-Lynn.
Well, Nancy, first of all, I'm so excited that we're able to do this interview with you. I think that what you do and what you share and your purpose for what's driving you to help women over 50 is so needed. I'm 20 years from that 50 mark. And all I could think is, where were you when I was 50? So ladies out there, if you're in this demographic, 50 and older, Nancy is not only a wealth of knowledge, but I'm glad that we get to help her share some of that with you today. So Nancy, I wanted to ask you, what are some of the most common misconceptions about plant-based eating that you have found from what you've learned at IIN and through your studies over the course of this last decade and meeting with clients? What's some of the most common misconceptions about plant-based eating?
Yeah, I think the big one is you can't get enough protein, right? Like everybody becomes a nutritionist when you tell them you're vegan or plant-based. Where do you get your protein? They're probably not even eating enough protein, but it's like, where are you getting it? So I think that's the first one. We get plenty of plant-based sources of protein. So that's always the first one. The second one is, isn't it boring? I'm like, no. It's probably the most vibrant, colorful, and tasty way you can eat. What's boring is opening a brown box and pouring it in a thing of water. So I think those two are big. And then on the other side is, well, I went plant-based or vegan, and that's all I need to do in order to get the body, the toned, lean body that I want to have. And there is a little bit more to it than just going plant-based. So I think those are the top three that I tend to get.
I love that. I love that. And I love how you brought in the colorful, tasty. What's some of your favorite plant-based foods?
Oh,
Yeah.
everything. And I think this is really, really important. And I really do. We can scroll social media, we can see a lot of things, but you don't know the background of the people that you're seeing. When people are like, why do you work with women 50 and older? And I'm like, because I really started my transformation journey at 50. I didn't work out all my life. I didn't eat healthy. I was a yo-yo dieter. I used to be anywhere from a size 2 to a 12. I didn't come from sports and eating well and all those things, because sometimes we can compare ourselves with that. And we're like, look at her. And then I'm like, well, she's been doing it for 30 years. Right? Like we just stepped up to the plate. So I love sharing that. Like you can start at any age, at any time. As far as the foods that I love, I almost love every vegetable and fruit and protein out there. And I think I started with tofu. Like that was the first for me. I didn't even eat tempeh until 3 years ago. And then even like seitan just like a year ago. So sometimes it can be a process. I didn't eat sweet potatoes for a long time. So I think some people think I don't like vegetables. I don't like enough of them, so I could never be plant-based. Yes, you can. There are still, just because you don't like this one or these two, there's still so many other ways that you can start incorporating these important micronutrients into your body. And that is really where you have to start. You have to start with your health.
Well, speaking of micronutrients, I know you work with your clients to really teach them about macros and micros, which to me, that was like a foreign language. And then you started explaining it. It's like, oh, that makes sense. And speaking of your business, let's frame this conversation around the structure of your business, what type of people you work with, how people find you. So let's start with what motivated you to start your business? When did you start it? And what's the premise of the business?
Yeah, so I started going to school for it back in 2014, 2015. Then I continued in schooling for 3 more years. And then I officially launched during that time too. And the whole reason I started, I have to be honest, I started because I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot be the only person that didn't know the importance of food. Like women, we have got to step up to the plate and we've got to take charge of our own life. So that was it. the funny thing was when I was approaching women and I'm like, I'm a health coach, I do this now. They're like, that's great, but I have 20 pounds to lose. That's great. Like they were like, that's really wonderful, Nancy, but can you tell me how to lose weight? And I get it, right? Because that was me. I'm like, whatever with the nutrition. So I realized there has to be a way to merge these two. There has to be a way that I can say, yes, I can not only help you lose weight, I can help you get the body that you want at any age healthy. And that is really what I do. And I work, I work with anyone that is either vegan or I like to say has a plant forward or curiosity. Because if they're like, I don't want to eat plants at all, that would be very hard for me.
Right.
I'm vegan. And so everything I put out is vegan, 80% whole foods. So, wherever they come from, they have to be, I want them to be vegan or plant forward. They want to have that healthy component to it.
I love that you've really niched down because, a lot of people, when they go into business and you say, who's your ideal client? And they go, oh, anybody, if they can fog a mirror and write a check, they're my client. No. So you've really narrowed it down. And I want to invite you to share where people can find you. What's the best web address for people to visit?
Oh, nancyleedsgribble.com.
Okay. So we'll have that in the show notes. We'll make sure that we encourage people to go visit your website because you've got some great stuff on there. And actually in your business, I know that you have done some live events. You've done some summits. Tell us about the most recent summit that you did and why that was so important to you to bring to the market.
Oh my gosh, that was the most amazing summit. I had the best team ever. And it was important so that people can see. I think it's the possibilities and the importance. I think that the summit was called Pro-Age, the plant powered way. And we brought in expert speakers, Dr. B, the gut health doctor, Linda Middlesworth, Janie Goddard, and we brought in and myself. And it was an amazing combination of the importance of health and plants towards our health, why they're so important, but also, and I really felt it was very inspirational. Like we got to see or hear stories of these amazing women and Dr. B, who overcame their scenarios, changed the trajectory of their life by going plant-based vegan. And it was amazing.
Wonderful. Well, Belin, go ahead. I know you've got questions, but I've got more and more and more. So go ahead, Belin.
I have to agree. The summit was an amazing experience. And I do know that you still have access. Well, you're still promoting to give people access to get the recordings and the bonuses and everything. And I'm so proud of all that you have done. You're about to be 60, and that's young when it's compared to what we were looking at 10 and 20 years ago. And, when I was a kid growing up, 60 was like way old. Yes. Now that I'm about to be 70 and I'm saying, a 60-year-old just turning 60 is young. Tell us some of the things that you've encountered personally as you've made this stride and you're about to step into the next decade of your life. What inspires you to step in and just be Nancy at 60?
I have a quote. I forget who said it, but I feel like, honestly, I'm just getting started. I really, really do. I know, you said cliche earlier. I'm the quotable queen. I love quotes. They motivate me, but age is just a number. And I really feel very blessed that I have so many years ahead of me. But what's so important to me is that there's life in those years, that I'm not wasting like a minute of them. And I'm really putting myself out there. Even if I fall flat on my face, I feel like that's living life. One of the things I've always said is my goal is to help women get off the sidelines of their own life. Like, take center stage. This is your life. This is your time. Well, I got to do the same, right? And so it's being bold and saying whether I fail, whether it doesn't go as planned, or whether it soars, the point is to do it. And that's living. And so I just feel like there's so much ahead, so much ahead. And I get inspired, like women like yourself, other women that I see that they're just forging an amazing path. And I'm blessed. I really do mean it. I feel blessed and privileged to be on that path.
And I want to have a little takeoff from there about the blessed, because you have a great attitude too. And that's something that I think many people lose sight of. So when you work with your clients, do you work with them on their mindset? Do you catch them in language patterns? Because that's something that we do when we work with clients. If they're saying, oh, this will never work, it's like, well, you're probably right, because you're affirming over and over, this will never work. Yeah. So how do you help your clients to really look at the language patterns, the mindset, all of that?
Yeah. Oh my God. We have to work on the mind, right? Like your body's only going to achieve what the mind believes. So if you only believe you'll get here, that's where you're going to stay. So we have to work on the mindset. You guys have heard me say one of the things that I talk about is the Midlife Manifesto. And that is really, what do you want this second season of life to look like? And this is where you open up and you really envision it. You don't worry about all the hows, because that'll stop you in your track. Like, just really, you have to first really envision your own life. Like, if you can't do that, how are you going to achieve anything if you don't even know what it is? So we have to really envision it. Then we have to shift the narrative that's going, the tapes that are playing in our head, that we're too old, that it's too late, that it's not possible. It's my hormones, it's my genes, it's all these things. We have to shift the narrative and look at what's possible. So I do work with my clients. Sometimes I'll say, we're back in toddler speak. Let's use our words. We have to watch what we're saying. We have to watch what we're saying to ourselves. We are so critical of ourselves. I do say it all the time. If beating ourselves up helped us reach our goals, right, we'd all be lean, tone, and wealthy. Like, done. Like, because we all know how to beat ourselves up. So we really have to work on celebrating our wins, no matter how big or small. Like, every week before you go into the lesson learned, I like to say, instead of what went wrong, what was the lesson learned here? Because we do need to make progress and we do need to improve if we want to reach certain new goals and new heights. But what went well? Like, what, gosh darn it, what did you do this week that went really, really well? What did you do today? Because there's always something. The other part of the mindset is that they're worth it. And it's a weird thing, because I really do work with women. They're smart, they're successful, they've built careers, they've raised families, maybe they've been in volunteering and charities. It's not like they don't know how to do things, but sometimes they've been doing so much for everyone and everything else that they're always at the bottom of their own to-do list. So when you try to raise them up to their top of their to-do list, they feel selfish. And then it becomes, they don't feel worthy of taking that time away from other people to spend on their own self-care, their own goals and visions. So we work on that too.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And I want to remind people that you're listening to the Veganpreneur Revolution podcast show. I'm your host, Kathleen Gage, with my co-host, V-Lynn Hawkins. And we are here with Nancy Leeds Gribble, who is just an amazing, amazing coach. And Nancy, and I want to remind people, go ahead and subscribe to this channel, hit the like button, give us a thumbs up, and leave us a review. That would really be appreciated. And Nancy, you said something about, let's go back to toddler, which I remember as a kid, they would go, even as an adult, people tell me, use your inside voice. And really, it is about going inside and using the voice inside that either supports what we're doing or moves us away from it. So really, that whole idea of the inside voice. Oh, what is my inside voice saying? So I love that. And would love to talk a little bit more about your Midlife Manifesto. I was so intrigued with that. Kind of take us through a mini course on the Midlife Manifesto. when you're working with the client? How do you take them through that process?
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. And basically we start with like, just kind of remind you like what it is. And so I'll always say, you know, when we were younger and we had our dreams and we had our goals and, you know, would we go to college? Would we get married? Did we want to have a family? And we worked towards these things and we had people supporting us right in our corner, like, you can do it, go do it. And so that's what we worked towards. Then life got busy being life and we just kind of became reactive on the day to day. The Midlife Manifesto is now saying, let's pause, because maybe somewhere along there you forgot like what you want anymore. Like you've just been reactive. It's being proactive.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I thought I lost you. It's being proactive towards your life. And so I'll say it's really thinking about, it's your why. It's like, why do you want the goals that you want? Really thinking about it. And so I'll have people say, let's take 20 minutes, get very, very, very still, and pay attention to the visions that come to your mind while you're thinking about what do you want to look like or feel like. I'm big on how you want to feel, how you want to feel in 1 year. How do you want to feel in 5 years, in 10 years? Those visions that you're getting, those are your hits, right? Those are your visions and they're very unique to you. And then when you get these, it's like, write them all down. This is going to be your North Star. This is going to be your why. Now you're going to backtrack to getting healthy is so important, to creating the body confidence and the energy that you want is so important. And that's how we work on it. That's it in a little bit of a nutshell of what we do with it.
Vlyn, go ahead, because I do have a question that ties in with the whole midlife, losing your vitality, but go ahead, please, Vlyn.
I just want to say that there are so many women reaching that age that, you know, they look back and say, I've accomplished this, I've accomplished that. And just like you said, they've put their attention and energy to other things outside of themselves. Now, I love the Midlife Manifesto, and I love the fact that you're taking this time and energy to have women to look at themselves and their own personal worth and value, and not just look at it, but learn to stand in it. And a lot of times women think that it's something that doesn't include what we put inside of ourselves. It's all about how we look, how we are on the outside. How do you bridge that gap for them to help them understand if it doesn't start from the inside, it won't be on the outside without a lot of ancillary outside stuff coming into play? How do you bridge that gap for women?
Bridge the gap of, I might be a little
inside, outside.
Well, you have to work on it's an inside job, right? Because the outside, it's not going to last. This is what I say, surface gets surface, right? Like if you're just going for surface, I want to look great in a bikini, something's going to come rub you in life and the surface stuff is going to go away. If it's got to be deep and it's got to be inside. And just with the Midlife Manifesto or the vision, it's a lot of people don't want to do this step. It's uncomfortable. It maybe brings up things that really they think about, you know, what's not possible. And I have to really shift it to what's possible. But it's if you don't go deep, then when the going gets tough for making changes in your life, and we all know they're tough, it's tough. And it's not that necessarily things are hard, but we're changing years, decades of habits. And that can feel extremely uncomfortable. It can feel very hard. So you have to go deeper and you have to really have a reason that doing this is beyond, I want to look good in a bathing suit. Because I can tell you, when winter comes, you don't care about the bathing suit. You're like, whatever, I don't care. So you're going to fall back into the old habits. It's your why power. And your why power will always be stronger than your willpower. My why power in the beginning wasn't even about me. My why power was about my son. I was one of those women. I couldn't go there and see my own worth right away. but I could see my son's worth. And I was like, this poor kid needs a healthy mom. So whatever I do, I better show up and I better get healthy for him. And it wasn't perfect. We don't look for perfect, right? We look for progress. But that was my why power. And then what's amazing, even with that, is after I showed up long enough, I'm like, hey, I kind of like this feeling. Now I want to do it for me. And that happens with a lot of women. Like they may be right in the beginning, on the surface, they're like, of course I see my worth. But when it gets time to dig in, they don't really. Like they don't see it in time. Like I can't give, all my time should be devoted to these other people. Well, let me tell you, you got to think of it this way. If you're not here because you didn't take the time, what good are you to those people?
Right.
So find that deeper why. You want to be with your grandkids. You want to travel. You want to be active. Like you have to do that. It is the most important step. Nutrition and fitness, that's the how. That's the why.
Well, I love that. I love that.
Awesome.
I know that at around 40, 50, 60, we start losing spouses, we start losing parents, and it can be tough. When I lost my mom, that was a really tough time for me. My dad, it was tough, but my mom, it was really, really tough.
Yeah.
And I went into a depression. I went into a funk. I went into a lot of comfort eating, and was not vegan at the time. And I know that this is such a critical time for so many people. So what you're doing really is important for people to get their passion for life back. Just the ability to get out of bed in the morning at some points, or get off the couch and go outside and take a short walk. Those are all important things. But right now, I have to tell you, I'm going to let you give me a little coaching here. But right now, I've been going through, I'm going to be 70 in a couple of months. And I see in the news, oh, so-and-so at 71 passed away. So-and-so at 73 passed away. So-and-so at 68. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm on a time clock. It's more evident today than ever. And what I know to be true is just because I eat plant-based and I exercise on a daily basis doesn't mean that I'm not going to, have something happen. It could be at any moment, something could happen, but the quality of life is important. But how do you address that whole issue for people who are going through a loss? Because you've been through that more than once, very, very devastating losses.
Traumatic.
Yeah. How do you work with somebody on that level to empathize, but then help them to walk out of that? And then also this whole thing of, as we get older, we realize the clock is ticking. So, coach, coach me. I'm taking full advantage.
The clock is ticking. I think first, I would be remiss if I didn't say we have to honor the grief, right? I would never, ever push somebody to move through their grief faster than they're ready. We do have to honor the grief. If you can remain healthy and not do things, I'm there supporting you, like during the grief. But when the time comes and it's like, okay, you're ready for something different, then it's now let's honor that legacy of the person who just passed by living life to the fullest. And that is really, I really think that's key, because it can be very hard, especially if you have spouses that have been together for a long time. And once the female, the wife, the husband may have passed away, and she's like, oh, but I don't want to do this because he's no longer here. I don't want to do that. And I'm like, no, you honor his legacy still by going and doing those things and living your life to the fullest. That's what we do. We take advantage, right, of the life that we still have. And everything starts with your health. That is just the bottom line of all of it. But so I think we honor the grief and then we honor the legacy. And that's by living life.
I love that.
Love that.
Love that.
Yeah. So Nancy, you've got a beautiful kitchen at your house. It always reminds me of a house that's up for showing and it's staged. It's beautiful. And I know you do some amazing things in your beautiful kitchen. I've seen your Instagram reels and I love them. Um, how do you approach your clients with the fact that, like you said, it starts from the inside, your why, and then the food is the next thing. Tell us about how you get them started, with cultural things and the changes in cultural foods that they may be eating. And, I don't know if I can make that. I don't even know what that is. I have to tell you, there was a time I did not know what quinoa was.
We couldn't even pronounce it.
Me too.
What is that word?
So how do you work with women to help them to come along that learning curve?
Yeah, I just have to go back and say with quinoa, I'm always like, if you can't pronounce it on a label, don't buy it. And then I'm like, except for quinoa. Like quinoa is the exception. Like nobody knows what that word is when you first see it. Honestly, it's keep it simple, V-Lynn. It's like when you're making changes to your health, to how you eat, to your fitness, keep it simple. Like now is not the time to be the culinary expert. Like add in things slowly, do what makes sense and it'll progress. I think if you come in and you try to do this big, massive overhaul, like, yeah, you can do it maybe for a little while, but can you sustain it?
Mm-hmm.
And so the whole goal is to be able to sustain it. And of course, when I work with my clients, I have all the resources. I am a great resource for what they can be eating and adding in, how they can make swaps, from kind of some of the common things, but things that are very cultural for them. We would really just kind of talk about and see, is there a way they can kind of healthify this recipe? Or is there something they could have different for now, and then work it. I also, I coach on macronutrients, which are our proteins, our fats, and our carbs. And all of our food is categorized as one of these. And when my clients learn how to kind of balance their plates according to macronutrients, then as they're going, they learn how maybe some of these dishes are going to fit and still be a part of their life, not kind of blow their health or their goals. So it's a process. Don't become the chef right off the bat. Like keep it simple, have some variety, and then progress.
Excellent.
I love it.
Excellent.
I love it.
I do encourage people to visit your website at nancyleedsgribble.com because you've got some great resources. Your blog is amazing. You've got pictures. I mean, it's somebody who's into photo porn. I mean, this would be great. Or food porn, I should say. Not photo porn. No. That was wrong. Whoops. No, food porn. But no, I mean, your images on your site, on your Instagram. What's your Instagram handle?
Oh, super easy. At Nancy Leeds Gribble.
Okay, at Nancy Leeds Gribble. Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, and not, well, excellent, but it is excellent.
You can call me Nancy Leeds Gribble. Excellent. That's totally fine.
Well, we do all the time. So as we wrap this up, Nancy, what are your final thoughts for people to encourage them to at least, we have somebody that we've been working with that constantly has health issues and, really bad acne and just things going on. And we've encouraged her to, first we said 30 days, then it was like 3 weeks, and now it's 2 weeks. Just try dairy free for that period of time. And it's like she wants to, but she's not quite there. So how do you encourage people that they've got all the evidence that they've got to change something and they're just not there, but they're close?
Yeah, I think we just let's start with one meal. Can you eliminate it for one meal? Can you eliminate it for one day? Like if you're struggling for 2 weeks, let's bring it back. I mean, trust me, you're hitting your goals or whatever, it's going to take longer, but it's better to take longer than to not be doing anything to get there. So I always do the sliding scale of when it comes to habits. If I'm working with somebody and we're doing habit-based coaching, is how ready, willing, and able are you to actually make this change? And if it's not a 9 or 10, we have to dial it back. And there's no judgment, right? Like I can't judge you. I ate meat. I had dairy until I learned, right? I don't want that for the animals, and I don't want it for my health. So it doesn't come with judgment, anything that we do, but it comes with creating awareness. And there's a lot of awareness of how certain foods affect you, and dairy, and what it's doing with the animals. But just let's scale back. Let's scale back. Right. Let's start it one day. And I really, the rub with that always is, and it always, people want the exciting. They want the go hard or go home. Like they feel like that's what they want, right? Like, I'm going to do Whole30. I'm going to do 75 hard. And maybe you did it, but did it stick? The percentage that it sticks is teeny, tiny, 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 tiny. So it's better, not as exciting, not as sexy, to say, all right, let's go with one day.
Wow.
And let's do this one day for 2 weeks. Then let's add in another day. And so just when I private coach my clients, I tell them all the time, they're like, what's your program? And I go, you're my program. Because I have to work with where you are now. And my main goal is to get you where you want to be. Right. How long that's going to take, that's up to you. I mean, that's the reality.
Yeah, I love it when you said 75 hard. I've done it, and it's like, and I was in it. I was in it to win it, and it was like I was competing with myself. And then when it was over, it's like, oh, that's over. And that's an intense program. And You're right, it's not sustainable. So I love what you're doing around sustainability, and I just so appreciate all you're doing, and I know Vlyn does, and we adore you. We adore you. And I encourage people to go visit your website at Nancy Leeds Gribble. I'm going to put it back up on the screen here, nancyleedsgribble.com. And I'm Kathleen Gage. I am co-host of the Veganpreneur Revolution podcast show, encouraging you, please visit Nancy's website, leave a comment here, leave a rating, do a thumbs up, subscribe. And in closing, Vlyn, what are your final thoughts?
I think that women especially need the kind of help that Nancy brings in, and everything, excuse me, from the manifesto to actually experiencing the cooking and keeping it simple. That's a success formula that you don't want to do by yourself. When you have a coach like Nancy, it's like, yes, I can be successful. And that's what we want. That's how you do it faster and more sustainably. That's how you do it, and you embody it so that even when you graduate from working with Nancy after however long, you can do it on your own. So Thanks, Nancy, for being here with us today. This has been awesome. So love the fact that you're part of our Veganpreneur Revolution community, and we get to support you. We know that you support us, and it's just a major love fest here.
Yeah.
The highlight is that we're here for a purpose. We're here with passion, and we're here to show you the power of plants. So thanks everybody for joining us. Thank you, Nancy. This has been so great. Thanks everybody. And we'll see you on the next episode of the Veganpreneur Revolution.
You've been listening to the Veganpreneur Revolution podcast show with Vlyn Hopkins and Kathleen Gage. Be sure to leave a review, give a thumbs up, and subscribe to this channel. And visit our website at veganvisibilityproductions.com. That's veganvisibilityproductions.com. Have a great day and live healthy.